Breaking news! Things are hot behind the scenes for the Philadelphia Eagles, and with the 2025 draft approaching, head coach Nick Sirianni is keeping his radar on to take advantage of the best opportunities. We have something important to share with you today, but before we continue, make sure you've hit the like button if you think Nick Sirianni is doing a great job with the Eagles. If possible, comment something like, "Go Birds! Let's win another Super Bowl." The Eagles are at a pivotal moment, and everything from roster moves to salary cap space strategy is under GM Roseman's control. The front office knows that every decision they make now will shape the 2025 season and beyond. When you look at how this team is built, it's clear that there's a commitment to balancing veteran talent with developing younger players, and that will be key going forward. The emphasis on playing young players isn't just about potential, it's about need. With so many high-caliber players on big contracts, the team has to get creative to maintain roster strength without compromising financial flexibility. But let's talk about what really matters. How do the Eagles maintain that edge? It starts on the defensive side of the ball. There's a reason the front office places such an emphasis on bringing in players who already have chemistry with each other. That instant cohesion is invaluable, and when you're talking about one of the greatest defenses in college football history being replicated at the professional level, you know you're working with something special. It's about more than just talent. It's about mentality, about playing with that relentless edge that defines great defenses. On the offensive side, it's clear there's an obsession, an unhealthy one, by their own admission, when it comes to stacking talent on the offensive and defensive lines. And honestly, that's exactly how you build a sustainable winner in the NFL. You can never have enough linemen. Injuries happen. Depth is critical. The Eagles have seen what happens when you lose multiple starters, and it fuels their drive to keep charging in the trenches. Then there's the free agency strategy. It's about finding those difference makers, those franchise-altering players. When the topic of running back Saquon Barkley came up, there was no hesitation. He's that kind of player. A game changer. Someone who can do it all at the position. And when you have a guy like that, the question isn't just about how he fits. It's about how you can maximize his impact. The coaching staff is constantly looking at ways to evolve and expand the roles of their top playmakers, and that's the kind of forward-thinking approach that keeps teams at the top. Looking ahead, it's clear the Eagles aren't just reacting to the present, they're planning for the future. There's a calculated approach to evaluating talent, whether through free agency or the draft. The organization prides itself on finding creative ways to compete, often looking beyond football for inspiration. Learning from other sports, from successful strategies in different industries, anything that gives them an edge. It's that kind of mindset that has kept this franchise in the mix year after year. One thing's for sure, this team isn't content with where they are. The hunger to improve, to adapt, to keep pushing forward is evident. The work doesn't stop, because in this league, the moment you stop evolving is the moment you start falling behind. So, Eagles fans, what do you think? How should the team prioritize its roster moves this offseason? And let's not forget about the quarterback situation. While there's no question about Jalen Hurts being the leader of this team, the front office has made it clear that they're always looking for ways to maximize talent around him. Whether it's keeping a strong offensive line in front of him, ensuring he has elite weapons, or developing depth behind him, every decision is about setting this team up for sustained success. That's the reality of the salary cap era. You have to think years ahead while still doing everything possible to win right now. Now, about the Saints situation, when talking about their strategy, it was clear that there's respect for how they handled their draft approach. They moved up to grab a player they believed in, and that's a move the Eagles understand well. They've done the same thing before. When they see a guy they think can make an immediate impact, they aren't afraid to go after him. And that's something to keep in mind with the upcoming draft. The Eagles will be aggressive if the right player is there, but they're not going to make reckless moves. Everything is calculated. Every pick, every trade, every signing, it's all part of a bigger puzzle. That's also why they take a methodical approach to contract negotiations. The balance between locking in key players while maintaining cap flexibility is a delicate one, and the front office is well aware of how critical it is to get those deals done early when possible. Every dollar saved in one deal can be used to add another piece to the roster. That's why they've been able to build deep, competitive teams over the years, because they understand the long game. And let's talk about the future of the trenches, because if there's one thing this team is obsessed with, it's dominating up front. They'll never feel like they have enough linemen, and honestly, that's the right mindset to have. Whether it's offensive or defensive line, they're always searching, always scouting, always looking for that next great addition. They know that the moment you get complacent, the moment you assume you have enough, that's when injuries hit, depth is tested, and suddenly your biggest strength turns into a weakness. They're not going to let that happen. The conversation around young players stepping up is also huge. Last year, we heard it loud and clear. this team was going to rely on young talent more than ever. And that's going to continue. The front office knows they can't keep every veteran, but they also believe in their ability to draft and develop the next wave of Eagles stars. That's why scouting, coaching, and culture matters so much. It's not just about getting talented players. It's about getting the right players, putting them in the right system, and making sure they have the support they need to thrive. And speaking of support, let's take a second to acknowledge what Jason Peters meant to this franchise. When you hear them talk about him, you can tell the respect is real. They called him the franchise for a reason. He wasn't just an elite player. He was a leader, a culture setter, a guy who made you feel confident going into every game. And he's a reminder of what the Eagles value: dominant trench play, leadership, and longevity. That's the standard they're chasing with every move they make. So, as we look ahead, the question remains, how do they keep this championship window open? How do they continue to push forward while keeping that balance between experience and youth, between financial discipline and all-in aggression? These are the decisions that will define not just the 2025 season, but the seasons beyond it. Now it's your turn, Eagles fans. What do you think? Should the team make a big move in free agency, or should they focus on locking in their own guys? What's the next step in making sure this team stays at the top? Drop your thoughts, because this is just the beginning of what's going to be a massive offseason. And let's dive deeper into what this means for the future of the Eagles. Because this isn't just about one offseason, it's about sustaining success for years to come. The front office knows that keeping this championship window open isn't just about making one or two splash moves. It's about building the foundation, maintaining depth, and being smart with every decision. That's why the conversation around young talent is so important. When you hear them talk about integrating younger players, it's not just lip service. It's a necessity. The reality is that this team has key veterans on big contracts, and in the salary cap era, you can't pay everyone. That means the Eagles have to hit on their draft picks. They have to develop talent internally. They need players on rookie deals to step up and contribute immediately. That's why last year, we saw them emphasize young players getting on the field. And that's why this year will be no different. But it's also about balance. You can't just throw a bunch of young guys out there and hope for the best. You need leadership. You need veterans who can guide them, show them how to be professionals, and make sure the culture stays strong. And that's exactly why they've been so strategic with their long-term contracts. They've locked in core guys who are still in their prime, guys who can lead both on and off the field. And speaking of leadership, one name that keeps coming up is Nick Sirianni. The head coach's impact on this team is undeniable. He's built a culture of accountability, competition, and development. The players respect him, they respond to him, and most importantly, they win under him. And now it's time for you to weigh in, Eagles fans. What do you want to see this offseason? Who should the Eagles target in free agency? What's the biggest priority in the draft? And most importantly, what's the one move that would make you believe this team is ready to win it all in 2025? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. Go Birds!